Oh no, don't cry, my son. Don't cry. Mama will find food today. God will surely see us today. Even if I have to stand here all day, help will come. Please, God, help us. If you've never stood in the rain with no jacket, no home, no money, and no hope, then maybe you won't understand what that morning felt like. The rain fell softly at first, but it was steady, like the sky itself had decided to join in the sorrow of the city. Abuja was awake. As always, cars rushed by, horns blared, umbrellas moved like tiny ships on a stormy sea. And there, at the corner of a busy road, stood a young woman named Adora. Adora was shivering. Her wrapper was soaked, her slippers were broken, and in her tired arms was her baby boy Kamsi, wrapped in a thin cloth that did nothing to stop the cold. The child's lips were dry. His small cry was soft, weak. Adora wiped his face gently. "Don't cry, my son. Don't cry. Mama will find food today. God will surely see us today. Even if I have to stand here all day, help will come." But deep inside, Adora was afraid. The night before, they had slept under a bridge. The cold wind had kept her awake. Kamsi had not eaten since the morning before. Now the baby's body was warm with fever, and Adora could feel him getting weaker. People passed her. Some looked with pity. Some looked away quickly, pretending not to see. Others whispered, "See her, using the baby to beg. Who knows if it's even her child?" Adora heard them, but she kept her head down. She rocked Kamsi gently, her tears mixing with the rain on her face. Across the road, a black SUV slowed in the traffic. Inside sat Mr. Chuka, a man so rich that people stopped talking when he entered a room. His companies, his cars, his houses, he had them all. But this morning, his heart felt empty. He stared out of the window, lost in thought, until he saw her. A woman, a baby, a picture of pain, standing in the rain. Chuka felt something in his chest, a feeling he hadn't known in years. "Stop the car," he said suddenly. "Sir?" his driver asked. "I said stop the car." Chuka stepped into the rain without care for his fine shoes or his expensive suit. He crossed the road slowly. Cars honked. The rain soaked him, but he didn't stop until he was standing in front of Adora. Adora looked up, frightened. "Good morning," Chuka said gently. Adora didn't answer at first. She just stared at the man, confused. "Is the baby all right?" Adora shook her head, tears in her eyes. "No, he hasn't eaten." Chuka looked at the baby's face. "Come with me," he said quietly. Adora froze. Who was this man? What did he want? But the kind eyes, the gentle voice, the hunger in Kamsi's cry. She nodded. The driver opened the car door. Adora climbed in, holding Kamsi close. She sat at the edge of the seat, afraid to touch anything. Chuka said nothing. His mind was full of thoughts. Who was this woman? What had life done to her? "Give me a towel," Chuka told the driver. The driver handed one back. "Here," Chuka said, offering it to Adora. "Wrap him in this." "Thank you, sir," Adora said, her hands shaking as she took it. They drove to a small restaurant. "Hot rice, beans, plantain, pap for the baby," Chuka ordered quickly. Adora fed Kamsi first. The baby sucked the pap eagerly. Then she ate, slowly at first, tears falling as she chewed. Chuka watched, silent. His heart was heavy. When she finished, he asked, "What happened to you?" Adora lowered her head. "My parents died when I was small. I moved to the city to find work. I have been working as a maid, But then I met someone who promised to take care of me and asked me to stop working, which I did. Something happened along the work line and we planned to marry, but he traveled home. I never heard from him again. He never came back. Since then, I've had nothing but this child. Chuka closed his eyes for a moment. He reached into his pocket. Here, he said, placing some money on the table. It's for you and your son. Adora's hands shook. Sir, this is too much. Take it, you need it. Adora took the money, tears rolling freely now. Chuka smiled gently. I have to go for a meeting, but here's my card. Call me in 5 hours. I'll come for you and take you somewhere safe. Adora took the card like it was gold. Thank you, sir. God bless you. Chuka nodded and left. Outside, the rain had stopped. Adora tucked the card carefully into Kamsi's cloth, thinking, I must not lose this. But as she walked away, adjusting the cloth on Kamsi's back, the card slipped out. It fell quietly to the wet ground. Adora did not know. Adora stood at the roadside, waiting, hope burning in her chest. She did not know that the key to her new life was lying in the dirt behind her. The sun had started to break through the clouds, drying the wet streets of Abuja, but the heaviness in Adora's heart remained. Adora was waiting there for the man to come, and then she just remembered the card that the man gave her. But she didn't know that the card that carried the only way to reach him was gone. Meanwhile, back at his office, Chuka sat at the edge of his chair, unable to focus. The meeting with the foreign partners had just ended, and though the business deal was successful, Chuka didn't feel joy. His mind was far from the office, far from contracts and handshakes. He kept glancing at his phone, waiting for it to ring. She should have called by now, he muttered. He checked the time. 6 hours had passed. He stared at his phone again. No missed calls. Chuka leaned back, frowning. Why didn't she call? He asked himself. Two voices argued in his mind. Maybe she never planned to call. Maybe she was only after your money. Number. She didn't look like that. She was scared. She was tired. Maybe something happened. Chuka sighed and rubbed his forehead. Outside, Adora sat on the edge of a wooden bench under the shade of a small shop. She shifted Kamsi gently on her lap. She reached into the cloth where she thought the card was. Her fingers searched nothing. Her heart jumped. No, 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 she whispered, panic rising in her voice. She searched again, checking every fold, shaking the cloth. Nothing. The card was gone. Tears filled her eyes as she stood up and looked around the ground where she had walked. She saw only dust, bits of paper and stones, but not the card. Oh God, please no. She held Kamsi tighter, her hands shaking. I lost it. I lost our only chance, my child. Her legs felt weak, but she forced herself to stay standing. She thought quickly. Maybe I dropped it in the bus or at the restaurant. Her heart clung to the little hope that maybe, just maybe, it was still there. Without wasting another moment, Adora tied Kamsi firmly to her back and began to walk fast towards the bus stop. Her feet hurt, her body was tired, but her mind was set. At the bus stop, she climbed into a yellow bus heading back toward the restaurant. She kept her eyes on the road, praying silently. At the restaurant, Chuka had just arrived. He stepped out of his car, looking around carefully. No sign of Adora. No baby. His eyes scanned every face, every corner. His heart sank. He turned to walk into the restaurant. His foot brushed against something soft on the wet ground. He looked down. It was the card. His card. The one he had given to Adora. Wet, muddy, lying forgotten. Chuka bent down and picked it up. His heart ached. Did she throw it away? Did she change her mind? He didn't know what to think. He sat inside the restaurant at the same table they had shared. He placed the card on the table and stared at it, lost in thought. Maybe she left on purpose. Maybe she didn't trust him. Maybe. But deep down, he didn't believe that. Minutes later, Adora finally arrived. She ran to the restaurant door, breathing hard. But the SUV car was gone. She stepped inside, looking around desperately. The table was clean, the floor empty. She turned to the waitress. "Please, did anyone find a card here? A small card. I dropped it here." The waitress shook her head. "No, madam. We cleaned the place. No card." Adora's last hope melted away. She stepped out of the restaurant, tears running freely now. She didn't know she had missed him by just moments. She didn't know the man she was searching for had stood at that very door, searching for her too. Adora sat on a stone by the roadside. She rocked Kamsi and wept. "I'm so sorry, my baby. I failed you." But deep inside, a small voice whispered, Go back to where he first saw you. If it's meant to be, maybe he'll come again." Adora wiped her face. "Yes, I will go back. I will wait. Maybe he will come." Far away, Chuka sat in his office once more. He looked at the card in his hand, then at his phone. No call. And in his heart, he wondered if he would ever see the woman from the rain again. Adora stepped out onto the street once more, the same spot where her life had nearly changed forever. She stood, waiting, hoping, not knowing if fate would cross their paths again. The sun rose higher over Abuja, but the warmth did not reach Adora's heart. She stood at the same spot where Chuka had first seen her, where the rain had fallen on her and Kamsi like a baptism of sorrow. Now, there was no rain, just heat. The kind of heat that makes the ground burn your feet through thin slippers. Adora rocked Kamsi on her back. The baby was restless, his small fingers grabbing at the loose edge of her wrapper, his head damp with sweat. Adora's lips moved silently in prayer. "God, please, let him pass this way again. Please don't let our help be lost." Every black SUV car that passed made her heart race. But each time, it wasn't Chuka. Meanwhile, at Chuka's house, the compound was alive with joy. His younger brother Uche had returned after 16 years abroad. Laughter filled the air. The smell of jollof rice, fried goat meat, and pounded yam drifted from the kitchen. Chuka smiled as he hugged his brother. They had waited so long for this day. But even in his joy, his mind wandered. The woman, the baby, had she really thrown away his card? Or had something happened? Uche noticed. "Brother, you're here, but your mind is far. What's wrong?" Chuka forced a smile. "Nothing, just tired." But deep down, he knew it wasn't tiredness. It was the face of that woman, the way she held the baby, the way her eyes begged for help without words. Back at the roadside, Adora's legs began to ache. She shifted from foot to foot, but refused to sit. "I can't miss him," she whispered. The shopkeeper nearby watched her. "Madam, are you not going to rest? The man you're waiting for, are you sure he'll come today?" Adora shook her head. "I don't know, but I have to wait. I have to try." At the airport, Chuka's driver had picked up Uche. The two men chatted as they drove through the city. But as they entered the crowded street, the driver's eyes caught something that made his heart stop for a second. There she was. The same woman, the same baby. She stood by the roadside, her eyes scanning every car that passed. Hope and fear fighting on her tired face. The driver's grip tightened on the steering wheel. Should he stop? Should he call Chuka? He hesitated. "Everything all right?" Uche asked, noticing the driver's sudden silence. The driver nodded quickly. Yes, sir. Just Abuja traffic. He kept driving. But as they moved, he kept looking at her through the mirror, her image burning into his mind. When they reached Chuka's house, the driver waited for the right moment. He stood quietly by the car while the brothers talked and laughed with old friends. Then, when Chuka stepped aside to check on the food in the kitchen, the driver followed him. Sir, I saw her, he said quietly. Chuka froze. Who? 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 The woman from the ring. The one with the baby. She was standing at the same spot you saw her before. Chuka's heart pounded. Are you sure? Yes, sir. She looked tired, but she was waiting. I think she's still hoping to see you. Chuka stood in silence for a moment. All his doubts melted away. She hadn't thrown the card away. She hadn't lied. She was waiting. Yes, sir. She looked tired, but she was waiting. I think she's still hoping to see you. Chuka stood in silence for a moment. All his doubts melted away. She hadn't thrown the card away. She hadn't lied. She was waiting. Go back now, Chuka said firmly. If she's still there, bring her to me. But first, ask her why she didn't call. Yes, sir. The driver left quickly. Back at the roadside, Adora shifted Kamsi again. The baby was fussing, his tiny cries growing louder. Adora's heart sank. Maybe he took another road today, she said softly. Maybe he didn't go to work. She was about to step away, to look for shade, when a black SUV car pulled up beside her. The window rolled down. Madam. She turned, her heart leaping. It was Chuka's driver. Her eyes filled with tears before she could even speak. I'm sorry, she said, her voice shaking. I lost the card. I went back to the restaurant. I searched everywhere. I didn't mean to. The driver saw the truth in her face, the tiredness, the honesty. Please come with me, he said gently. Adora climbed into the car, holding Kamsi tight, her heart racing. She didn't know what waited for her at the end of the journey. All she knew was that hope had found her again. As the car sped off toward Chuka's house, Adora stared out of the window, her mind racing. What would happen next? Was this truly the help she had waited for? Or would this be another door that closed in her face? The ride to Chuka's house felt like a dream to Adora. She sat at the edge of the soft seat, holding Kamsi tightly against her chest. His fevered head rested on her shoulder, his breathing shallow but calm. The driver glanced at her through the mirror from time to time. He could see the fear in her eyes, the tears that still clung to her lashes. The way she kept whispering to the baby, rocking him gently even as the car moved. Don't be afraid, the driver said softly. You'll be safe. My boss is a good man. Adora nodded slowly, but she couldn't find the words to speak. When they turned into Chuka Street, Adora's heart began to race. The houses here were not like the ones she knew. Tall gates, flowers by the fences, everything clean, quiet, and beautiful. When the black SUV stopped in front of a large white mansion, Adora's breath caught in her throat. Come, the driver said, opening the door for her. She stepped out slowly, holding Kamsi close, afraid to touch anything, afraid she might wake up and find it was all a dream. Chuka stood at the balcony, watching as the car pulled in. When he saw Adora step out, his heart felt light for the first time all day. She didn't leave me, he whispered to himself. She didn't throw the card away. She didn't give up. He walked quickly down the stairs as the driver led Adora into the house. The music from the party had faded into the background. The laughter of guests echoed softly through the walls, but Chuka's focus was only on Adora and the baby in her arms. Adora saw him coming. Before she could stop herself, she dropped to her knees right there in the large sitting room. Thank you, sir, she cried. God bless you. I didn't mean to lose the card. I looked everywhere. Please forgive me. Chuka reached for her hands and gently lifted her. "No, please don't kneel," he said, his voice kind. "You don't have to beg. You've done nothing wrong." Adora stood, shaking, tears flowing freely. The room had gone silent. Chuka's guests turned to stare at the scene, confused. But Chuka said nothing to them. "Come with me," he told Adora. He led her down a quiet hallway and opened the door to a guest room. It was clean, cool, and smelled of fresh flowers. "Please," he said gently, "bathe. Rest. There are fresh clothes in the wardrobe. When you're ready, we'll talk." Adora could only nod, overwhelmed. While Adora cleaned up and laid Kamsi on the soft bed, Chuka went to the kitchen. "Prepare food for her," he told the chef. "Something soft, something warm, and do it now." "Yes, sir." Later that evening, after the guest had left, Adora sat in the sitting room again, Kamsi asleep in her arms. She looked clean, calm, though her eyes still showed the weight of everything she had been through. Chuka sat opposite her, his brother Uche by his side. "You lost the card?" Chuka asked gently. Adora nodded. "Yes, sir. I tucked it in my baby's cloth. It must have fallen without me knowing. I went back to the restaurant. I searched everywhere. I wanted to call. I didn't have a phone." Her voice broke. "I thought I had lost the only chance God gave me." Chuka's chest tightened. "You haven't lost anything," he said softly. "This is just the beginning." Chuka leaned forward, his eyes kind but serious. "Tell me, Adora, if I could help you start again, what would you want to do?" Adora froze. The question hung in the air, heavy with promise. Could this really be the new beginning she had prayed for? Adora stared at Chuka, her lips slightly parted, but no words came out at first. Nobody had asked her that question before, not in that way, not with such kindness. For so long, her only dream had been survival, food for the day, shelter for the night, safety for her baby. But now this man, this stranger who owed her nothing, was offering her the chance to hope again. Chuka waited patiently, his eyes gentle, as if telling her it was safe to speak her heart. Finally, Adora took a deep breath. "Sir, I don't know where to begin," she said softly. "Anywhere," Chuka encouraged. "There's no wrong answer. What do you want to do? What do you love?" Adora looked down at Kamsi, who slept peacefully in her arms. "I used to sew, sir, when I was younger. Before life became so hard. My mother taught me before she died. We didn't have much, but she said if I could use my hands, I could always make a living." Her voice shook with the memory. "I've always wanted to have a small shop, a place where I could sew clothes and make enough to take care of my son." Chuka nodded thoughtfully. "That's a good dream and a good skill." He turned to his brother Uche, who had been listening quietly. "What do you think?" Uche smiled. "I think it's time we make that dream real." Adora's eyes widened. "Sir, I didn't mean for you to." Chuka raised a hand gently. "You didn't ask. I offered, and I mean it." Over the next few days, Adora remained in the guest room of Chuka's house. The staff treated her kindly. The cook made sure she had good food. The housekeeper helped her wash and care for Kamsi. Adora kept expecting to wake up and find it was all a dream. But every morning the sun rose and the kindness continued. Chuka took time out of his busy schedule to sit with her and listen to her ideas. He asked her what kind of sewing she liked best. "Children's clothes," she said with a shy smile. "I like making them. They remind me of innocence, of joy." One afternoon, Chuka returned from his office earlier than usual. "Adora, come. We are going out," he said. Adora looked surprised. "Out, sir?" "Yes, we have something important to do." He led her to his car, and soon they were on the road. They arrived at a shop building with several empty spaces for rent. Chuka pointed. "This one, it will be yours." Adora gasped. "Sir, this is too much. I can't take it." "You can. And you will. It's time to stop struggling and start living. And Adora stepped into the empty shop space, her heart pounding. She ran her hand over the clean walls, tears filling her eyes. Could this really be her future? Or was life about to teach her another harsh lesson? Adora stood in the middle of the empty shop, her eyes moving slowly across the space. The walls were freshly painted. The floor was smooth and clean. The air smelled faintly of wood and new beginnings. She placed a hand gently on the counter near the window, as if to make sure it was real. "This will be your shop," Chuka said again, his voice firm but kind. Adora turned to him, her eyes wet with tears. "Sir, I don't know how to thank you. I don't deserve all this." Chuka shook his head. "You don't need to thank me. Just use this gift well. Build a life for yourself and your son. That is thanks enough." And over the next week, Chuka and Uche helped Adora set up the shop. They brought in sewing machines, new and strong. They ordered shelves and tables. They stocked the shop with colorful fabrics, bright reds, soft blues, sunny yellows, and greens that reminded Adora of her village before life became so hard. Chuka even hired a kind woman named Ijoma to assist Adora in the shop, someone with experience who could help with customers and accounts. Adora could hardly believe it. Every morning she woke up in Chuka's house, looked at Kamsi's peaceful face and smiled. Every day she walked into her shop, touched the sewing machine, and felt the power of a new life in her hands. And every evening she knelt by her bed and thanked God not just for the shop, but for the man who had shown her that kindness still lived in the world. One afternoon, Chuka visited the shop. He stood quietly, watching Adora work. She was cutting fabric with care, her fingers steady, her eyes focused. Kamsi was nearby in a small crib Chuka had bought, sleeping soundly. Customers had started to come. Word was spreading that a new tailor was in town, one who made beautiful clothes with love. Chuka smiled. "This is just the beginning," he said softly. But not everyone was happy. Some neighbors whispered, "Why would a rich man help a woman like that? Maybe she's a secret wife. Maybe he's only helping her because he wants something." Adora heard the whispers. At first, they hurt, but she remembered Chuka's words. "Let people talk. You know your heart, and I know mine. That's all that matters." So Adora kept working. One day, as Adora sat in her shop counting money from her first real sales, her phone rang. It was a strange number. Adora stared at it, her hand trembling. Should she answer? Was this a good call or the start of new trouble? Adora's hand shook as she picked up the phone. For a few seconds, she just stared at the screen, heart pounding. She had grown used to peace, to joy, to the gentle rhythm of her new life. But this strange number stirred old fears in her heart. Slowly, she pressed the green button and lifted the phone to her ear. "Hello?" she said, her voice soft, unsure. There was silence at first. Then a woman's voice spoke calm, but filled with something deep, something sad. "Is this Adora?" "Yes, this is Adora," she replied, heart racing. "My name is Gozi. I'm calling from a nearby country. I'm Jacob's cousin." At the sound of Jacob's name, Adora froze. It had been so long since she heard anyone speak his name. Memories flooded her mind, his smile, his promises, the day he left and never returned. I don't understand," Adora whispered. "I've been trying this number for over a year," Ngozi continued. "It was always off, but today I finally got through." Adora felt her knees weaken. She reached for a chair and sat down, Kamsi stirring lightly in his crib. Why are you calling?" Adora asked, her voice trembling. Ngozi's voice broke as she spoke. "My cousin, Jacob, he didn't abandon you." Adora's breath caught. "He was in an accident. The same day he left you. He never made it home." Tears streamed down Adora's face. He was in a coma for months. He fought, but he never woke up. He passed away quietly. We buried him, but he left this world with your name on his lips. A deep silence filled the line. Adora pressed her hand to her chest, feeling the weight of truth settle where doubt had lived for so long. Ngozi continued, I saw the messages you sent him. I saw the love in your words. I knew he was serious about you. I knew you must have had a child. Adora's tears fell freely now. Yes, she whispered, I have a son. His name is Kamsi. He's Jacob's son. Ngozi sighed deeply, tears in her voice too. His mother, Jacob's mother, is still alive. She cries every day. She believes Jacob left nothing behind. But now there is hope. There is Kamsi. Adora wiped her face, trying to find her strength. I will bring him to see her. She must know her grandson. I'll do everything I can to make it happen. Thank you, Ngozi whispered. Thank you. The line went silent, but Adora sat there long after, her heart full not with pain this time, but with peace. She had carried the weight of abandonment for so long. Now she knew Jacob hadn't left her willingly. He had fought to come back, and now Kamsi would know where he came from. Later that day, Chuka visited the shop. He found Adora smiling softly, her eyes still wet with tears, but her face peaceful in a way he hadn't seen before. He didn't ask questions. He only placed a hand gently on her shoulder. You're strong, he said. Adora nodded. Stronger than I ever knew. As Adora prepared to take Kamsi on a journey to meet his grandmother, a thought stayed with her. Could this trip bring healing or open old wounds she wasn't ready for? The morning sun filtered through the thin curtains of Adora's small room, casting soft light on Kamsi's sleeping face. His tiny chest rose and fell gently, his lips slightly parted, his small hands resting on the blanket. Adora sat on the edge of the bed, staring at him. Her heart was full of hope, of fear, of questions she didn't have answers to. Today was the day she would travel with him to meet his grandmother, the woman who had wept for a son she lost, not knowing he had left behind a gift in Kamsi. Adora smoothed Kamsi's hair gently and whispered, Today, my son, we go to show her you. We go to give her peace. Chuka came by early, just as Adora was preparing. He stood in the doorway of the shop, watching her pack a small bag with clothes for Kamsi. You don't have to do this alone, Chuka said quietly. Adora looked up, surprised. I want to help. Let me arrange the transport. Let me make sure you're safe on this journey. Tears welled in Adora's eyes again. She nodded, unable to speak at first. Thank you, sir. God bless you. Chuka smiled softly. You've said that enough times. Just take care of your son. That's thanks enough. By noon, everything was set. Chuka arranged for a private car to take Adora and Kamsi across the border to the small town where Jacob's mother lived. Adora sat in the back seat, holding Kamsi close, watching the city slowly fade behind them as they drove through villages, fields, and dusty roads. Her mind raced. What would Jacob's mother say when she saw them? Would she believe the truth? Would she accept Kamsi? The journey was long. The sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Finally, the car turned onto a narrow road lined with small mud houses. Children played by the roadside. Old women sat outside, fanning themselves. The driver stopped in front of a small faded house with a tin roof. Adora stepped out slowly, her legs weak from the journey, her heart pounding. Kamsi clung to her, his eyes wide, sensing the tension in the air. An elderly woman sat in a wooden chair on the porch. Her back was slightly bent, her hair white like cotton, her eyes dim but sharp. She looked up as the car pulled in, her gaze fixed on Adora, then dropped to the child in her arms. For a moment, time seemed to stop. Adora stepped forward, her voice shaking. Mama, I am Adora. I was Jacob's fiancé. This is Kamsi, your grandson. The woman's hands trembled. She rose slowly, tears filling her tired eyes. "Jacob's son," she whispered. Adora nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, Mama, he is yours." The woman reached out with shaking hands, touching Kamsi's cheek gently. My boy did not leave this world empty." She broke down, sobbing, holding Kamsi close as Adora wept beside her. As the sun disappeared behind the hills, Adora felt peace at last, but in the shadows of the night, someone watched from a distance, a figure she hadn't seen in years, a face from her past she thought was lost forever. Night fell gently over the small village. The stars came out bright and clear in the dark sky, as if they too were watching over the little house where Adora and Kamsi had found refuge. Inside, the oil lamp flickered softly, casting warm light on the faces of Adora, Kamsi, and Jacob's mother. The old woman held Kamsi close, rocking him slowly, her tears drying on her wrinkled cheeks. "My son didn't leave me empty," she whispered again and again, as if saying it made it more real. Adora watched them, her heart full. This was what she had longed for, a place where Kamsi would be seen, where his father's memory would be honored. They shared a simple meal that night, yam and palm oil, with roasted fish. Kamsi ate well, and for the first time in a long time, Adora felt the weight in her chest lift. But outside, in the shadows beyond the house, someone watched. A tall man, hidden by the trees. His face was thin, his eyes sharp with hunger and regret. It was Paul. Adora met Paul first, long before Jacob came into her life. Paul was the first man who showed her affection after she arrived in Abuja, seeking a better life. He spoke sweet words, promised to marry her, and acted like he cared deeply. For a while, Adora believed she had found true love. But it was all a lie. One day, Paul convinced her to give him the little money she had saved, saying it was for their future home, to rent a small place for both of them. Then he disappeared, vanished without a trace, leaving Adora stranded, hungry, and hopeless on the streets of Abuja. That betrayal broke her spirit until she later met Jacob, a kind man who helped heal her wounds and showed her what true love could be. But then, tragedy took him away too. Paul clenched his fists. How did she rise? How did she find happiness without me? Jealousy burned in his heart, mixed with shame. He had thought she would be lost forever. But here she was, stronger than before, with a child and a new family. Inside, Jacob's mother spoke softly to Adora. "You must stay a few days. Let me know my grandson. Let him know this home. The spirit of his father is here." Adora nodded. "I will stay, Mama. We will stay." But as she spoke, a strange feeling came over her. She rose and stepped to the door, looking out into the night. The village was quiet. The stars shone brightly, but she felt it, eyes watching, a presence she could not name. She shivered and closed the door gently. "Maybe it's just my fear," she told herself. But deep down, she knew someone from her past had found her. As Adora tried to sleep that night, a knock came at the door soft, uncertain. She sat up, heart pounding. Who could it be at this hour? The soft knock came again. Adora sat frozen on the small mattress, her heart beating fast in the quiet of the night. The oil lamp flickered, casting long shadows on the mud walls. Jacob's mother stared beside her. "Adora, who is it?" the old woman asked, her voice heavy with sleep. "I don't know, Mama," Adora whispered. She rose slowly, careful not to wake Kamsi, who lay in a peaceful sleep beside them. The knock came a third time, gentle but urgent. Adora approached the door, her hand trembling as she reached for the wooden latch. "Who is there?" she called softly. No answer, only the sound of the night, the crickets, the soft wind through the trees. Slowly, she opened the door just enough to peek out. And there he stood, Paul, his face gaunt, his clothes dusty and worn, his eyes held a mix of shame, regret, and longing. Adora gasped, stepping back. "Paul, what are you doing here? You stay here?" He raised a hand, as if to show he meant no harm. "Adora, please don't close the door. Let me speak." Jacob's mother, now fully awake, moved to Adora's side. "Who is it, my child?" Adora's voice shook. "Someone I thought I would never see again, Mama." Paul's voice broke. "I've been looking for you. This is my village. I heard you came here. I didn't know what happened to you after Abuja. I made mistakes, Adora. I was foolish. I left you when you needed me. I robbed you. I'm so sorry, please. Find a place in your heart to forgive me, Adora. Adora stared at him, her mind racing with memories. The hunger, the nights on the street, the betrayal. What do you want, Paul? He lowered his eyes. I want to make things right. I have nothing. I have no one. But when I saw you tonight, so strong, so blessed, I knew I had to come. Jacob's mother watched silently, her wise eyes seeing deeper than words. Adora took a deep breath. You can't change the past, Paul, but you can choose who you want to be now. She stepped back and opened the door wider. Come in, eat, rest. Tomorrow is another day. Paul's eyes filled with tears. He stepped in slowly, his body weak, his heart heavy. They shared the little they had there, palm oil, water, and in that simple act, the night became a little warmer. The next morning, as the sun rose, Adora stood outside with Kamsi in her arms. Paul sat nearby, quiet and thoughtful. Jacob's mother joined them, leaning on her walking stick. My son's spirit can rest now, she said softly. You have brought him peace. Adora smiled, the first true smile of her new life. Later that week, they returned to Lagos. Chuka welcomed them back warmly, proud to see the strength in Adora's eyes, the peace in her heart. Her shop grew, her name became known, and Adora never forgot. The day kindness found her in the rain was the day everything changed. Real wealth is not in money, but in how we treat people who can't pay us back. We rise by lifting others. And even when life seems unfair, don't give up sometimes. The help you need is watching you quietly, ready to show up when you least expect it. Never judge people by what they are going through. Everyone has a story, and with just one act of kindness, you can become the turning point in someone's life. Now, tell me, what did you learn from Adora's story? Was there a moment that made you cry or smile? Let me know in the comments. I would love to read your thoughts. A brand new story is coming in just a few days, deep, emotional, and full of unexpected twists. Please subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss it. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video and share it with your friends and family. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate you. See you in the next one.